Hey y'all, it's Bailey with Reclaim Grace. I'm so happy you clicked on this video. Today we have some more fall inspired thrift flip makeovers. I have a bonus project in the end, which is a cabinet makeover that I thrifted for a really good deal. And I have a booth tour at the end of this video. So, y'all let me know what your favorite project was, and we're going to get started right now. Our first project today is this wooden display case, I guess is what I would call it. I picked this up from a flea market for $3, and it's been hanging around my workshop for a while, so it is very dusty, just waiting on some inspiration to hit. So I'm going to take my little fluffy dusting brush and give it a good dusting off, and then we're going to clean it with some Windex. Now, that piece that I'm cleaning right here, it looks like glass, but it's not. It's plastic. And the plastic has been scratched, unfortunately. So it has some scratch marks that are not going to come off, which is fine. This is an older piece, and we're going to work with that. So I'm going to clean the inside well. I'm not going to be painting the inside area that I'm cleaning right now, but I'm going to go ahead and tape off that plastic, just the top side, before coming in with 2 coats of shellac-based primer. After that primer is good and dry, I'm going to take my Sweet Pickins beeswax bar and just hit those high edges and some corners, the little hardware pieces, and some of the flat areas as well. I mixed up some milk paint off camera. This is that favorite mixture I have been using the past several videos, avocado and olive, equal parts. And we're going to start painting this display piece. I worked around the hinges. I just thought that would be a better look, but some pieces I paint right over the hinges. So whatever you want to do, go for it. I really wanted this piece to crackle and chip, but unfortunately that wood soaked it right in. So I'm super glad we went in with that beeswax bar. You will see in a later step. This did take 2 coats to get the coverage I'm looking for. I'm going to paint the entire outside of it, including the bottom and back, and I'm going to leave the inside alone. I apologize for my sports bra showing in this sleeveless shirt. I did not realize that, but a girl was hot. So now our milk paint is dry. I'm coming in with my orbital sander turned all the way down, like to the lowest power. And I have a 220 grit sandpaper on it. And I'm going to hit every surface, but where I go over it and it has that wax that I place down, is going to take the milk paint right off. And I love that look. So we're going to sand over the whole piece to get a nice smooth finish and some distressing. Then I'm going to remove this tape. And I scrubbed at this thing, and I think I created even more scratches. So it's fine. We're going to cover most of the scratches up using these gorgeous butterflies from this transfer book right here. I'm going to butcher the name if I try to say it, and y'all pick on me for saying things wrong, so I'm not going to attempt it. But I do have a few of these transfer books available on my website, and I have gone through several packs of these. I love butterflies. So I've selected some of the bigger ones in this book, and I'm going to start transferring them down to this plastic display area. Just going to position the transfer where I want it. I'm going to rub all over and then pick a corner and start lifting and rubbing at the same time. And it's stuck very well to this clean plastic. I wanted to add some text, so I grabbed my Brocante transfer book, and this is another one of my favorites, y'all. It has just a wide variety of things to choose from. So I grabbed some of the text from this packet, and I'm going to center it right here at this top part and place that transfer down. And then I took some of the little itty bitty words that are in cursive and just placed them randomly on the piece. You'll see those in the final shots, and I really love what adding this wordage did to this piece. So now we need to seal in our milk paint. Milk paint does need to be sealed, and my favorite way to seal it is using Fusion's Agent Wax. It's really going to deepen this color up, and this wood has a lot of like nicks and dings in it, and it's really going to bring all those out. So I'm actually going to seal over the top of our transfers on the plastic piece with just a thin layer of this wax too, and then I'll just clean the plastic off well so you can't see the wax, but your transfers need to be sealed as well. I'm going to come in with a blue shop towel and buff off any excess wax, and then this piece is done. I love how this piece turned out. That green is just gorgeous to me. I priced it for, I believe, $39. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this one. Here is our next project. It was a project gone wrong twice. So this was my second attempt, and it won't working. So I was like, all right, third time is the charm. Let's make this baby over again. So I'm going to lightly sand both sides. This was a paint inlay I used on it, and I just want to smooth that out so you're not going to be able to see it underneath our layer of paint. I want to dust off that dust from sanding, and then I'm going to come in with DIY clay-based paint, vintage linen, and I'm going to give the front, the back, the sides 2 good coats. Next, I'm going to wet a paper towel and do some wet distressing on this piece because I would love to pull back some of that gorgeous green underneath. So I'm going to rub along the sides and some of the flat areas and pull back some of that clay paint, revealing that gorgeous green underneath. I decided to go ahead and seal up this decor board with just one thin layer of my matte polyacrylic sealer. We're going to be doing a paint inlay on this piece, and I just wanted to see how it would react if I put my paint inlay into the polyacrylic in the second coat instead of the first. This DIY paint just soaks it up, so I don't know. I just wanted to experiment with that. I grabbed a paint inlay from Gloria. This is last Christmas release, and I haven't used these gorgeous designs yet, so I want to get them used up before we get the new goodies. So I cut that piece apart so I can position it where I want it, and now I have misted the back side of my paint inlay. I'm going to work in sections, and I'm going to apply my polyacrylic down, mist my paint inlay again, I guess, get rid of any, just making sure that polyacrylic is staying nice and wet, and then I'm going to push the paint side of my paint inlay down into that wet medium. Then I'm going to lift up the other half and do the same process. Now right here I ended up smearing that little bit that had already stuck, but it's fine. I was like very angry at myself because this is the third time I'm doing this project. So I was very frustrated with this decor board, but I was like, it's going to be what it's going to be. Once that paint inlay is down, I'm going to wet the top of it again and then just dab off any excess water. And before we do that same process to the harvest part. And I'm going to go ahead and apply this piece down all together since it's a smaller design. I like to dry my paint inlays with my heat gun. That just speeds things up. So in a matter of minutes, it is dry and I can remist the top of that paper. Let that water soak in just a minute. And then I'm going to pick a corner or get off any excess water first. I'm sorry. And then I'm going to pick a corner and start lifting the piece of paper up. If you feel it tug or just kind of resist in any area, just apply a little bit more water. Like right here, I was feeling like it wasn't wanting to come up, so I just apply a little bit more water, rub it in, and then it will come right up. And look at this design. It came out perfectly. I really think by adding that first layer of polyacrylic, letting it dry, and then putting the inlay into the second coat of polyacrylic, especially on the DIY paint, this worked really well. I will be doing it again when using the DIY brand. So now I'm going to do something that I have seen other creators do. I'm going to wet a paintbrush and start blending the pigments on this paint inlay to create a little sepia. It kind of looks like rust color by just acting like I'm watercoloring it pretty much. And I'm going to do this for the pumpkin just to give this decor board a little bit of color. And I really like doing this technique. I let this piece dry and then I took it outside and gave it 2 light coats of a spray matte sealer, added some jute twine and a little piece of floral, and this piece is done. Third time is the charm, y'all. I priced it for $27. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this project. Moving on to our next project, which was inspired by Miss Sherry over on Emily's Creative Facebook group. So here I have a piece of drop cloth that I've cut to fit on a basket. And this is a paint inlay out of that same book, Gloria. And I'm just kind of mapping out where my paint inlay is going to go before coming in with Alchemy chalk paint in the color White Oak. Now, if you're going to redo this, do not draw on the drop cloth like I did. Just maybe make a couple dots, because this pen kept on bleeding through the paint where I had to put 4 coats in those sections to cover up the pen. So that was not a good move. Now, this drop cloth was soaking up this paint, so I misted it a little bit to kind of help spread the paint around. And once I got that first coat down and 4 coats around the pen, I'm going to mist the paint side of my paint inlay and start applying my second coat. I'm going to work in sections because this is going to dry fast and really soak into that fabric fast. So I'm going to work in like little 1-inch sections. I'm going to get this starter strip placed down into that wet paint. And then I'm going to pick up the remaining of the paint inlay and just keep on working in like 1 to 2-inch sections, applying a nice size amount of paint so it stays wet. And then I'm going to press the paint side of the paint inlay into that wet paint until we get the whole design down. Now that it's down, I'm going to press well with my hands. I even grabbed out my brayer just to make sure everything has made good contact into that fabric. Then I'm going to re-wet the piece, get off any excess water, and then I'm going to zap it dry with my heat gun. Once I thought it was dry, you're about to see right here, I kind of flipped the piece over and I realized the back was still clearly wet. So I didn't know if this was going to affect the paint inlay, so I dried that side with my heat gun before moving on to the next step. So now that the piece is fully dry on both sides, I'm going to re-mist the top of that paper, get any excess water off, and then we're just going to pick an edge that we can lift up with our finger pretty easily. So I chose this section right here. And then we're going to start peeling that piece of paper away from our fabric, leaving a gorgeous design. That reveal is just so magical to me. That's the best part about paint inlays. I'm going to dry that down, and then I took it outside and gave it a coat of spray sealer. Here is the basket we're going to put it on. I believe that tag says 129. So I'm going to get off the tag, and I'm going to get this drop cloth positioned onto the front of my basket, and I'm just going to use a little bit of hot glue just to hold the corners into place. I did not want to apply much hot glue because I didn't want you to be able to see the clumps behind the fabric. So just small amounts here and to get all four corners attached. And then I found some little, what are they called? Thumb tacks in my stash. And will I get to that part? Here they are. So I'm going to press them into a piece of cardboard, and we're going to paint them to look like little brass tacks. I have some Paint Couture bronze metallic paint here, and I'm going to dab a few coats on to all four of these thumbtacks. Once they are dry, we're going to take them out, and then we're going to jump back to our basket and just add a small pea-sized amount of hot glue. I'm going to press that thumbtack into the fabric and into the basket, and then what I did on the inside was just bend it downwards. And that really was secure, and I love the way it looks, that little extra detail. Other than that, I thrifted some fall floral and put it in this basket that I will be including in the sale, and I priced it for $27. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this one, and thank you, Miss Sherry, for the inspiration. So here is our last project for today's video, a little cabinet, or it's really like a medium-sized cabinet. I thrifted from Salvation Army for $20. I about squealed whenever I seen this in the back room. So it had several layers of paint, but this outside layer was latex, and it was just globbed up there. It gave me a very hard time trying to sand it. But other than that, the cabinet is in really good, sturdy shape. The clasp works well. It just needs a little facelift. So I got started by giving it a good clean and by scraping off that paint around the glass door. And here comes the awful sanding. So if you didn't know, if you sand over latex paint, it's just going to gum up your sandpaper. It just kind of peels off. It doesn't sand off. But I did the best I could. I was not about to strip this piece down with paint stripper. It just was not about to happen. I grabbed out my paint scraper to get some of the little peelings off after I sanded for a little while. I used this scraper just in some areas, but you know what? I want this piece to look old. I want it to be, have character to it, so it kind of is what it is. I did the best I could. I definitely got the paint drips off, so it was a somewhat smooth finish. Several hours has lapsed and I am done sanding. So now I'm going to tape up this clean glass so we don't have to do as much scraping when we get done painting. Yes, paint is still going to bleed under there, but it's not going to be as bad as if we did not tape. Once we got the glass taped up, I'm going to prime this piece with a couple coats of shellac-based primer. If I'm using milk paint, I'm going to use this product if it's over wood. So Roscoe is locked out of the workshop right now. I have my doors open and a fan blowing out, and I have my mask on, and I'm going to give this piece inside and out, top to bottom, 3 layers of this shellac base primer. I didn't want to tape up the whole glass, so I just kind of grabbed a piece of cardboard to protect that glass when I'm spraying around the door section. Here is how we're looking after our primer is dried, and I just kind of want to show you all the layers that we covered up with that primer just to create one nice kind of candy coating over the piece. So we got raw wood, we got some kind of white paint, the latex paint, and then look at this green color. So that is kind of the vibe I want to go back for. Y'all could have guessed that. Here's a cute shot of Roscoe. So I experimented a little bit and mixed up a small tester, and then I like that color I got, so I'm going to mix up a larger batch, which is 2 scoops of avocado, 2 scoops of olive, with 1.5 scoops of basil. Then I need to add equal parts water to that, mix it up well for a couple minutes, like literally mix it for 2 to 3 minutes, and then set it to the side and let it thicken for about 10 to 15 minutes. Now, I did add a little bit too much water to this mixture because that 1.5 kind of threw me off on my measurements. So you're going to see it's kind of thin right here when I start applying it. But before I apply it, I'm going to come in with my beeswax bar and hit those edges, especially where that natural wood is, along the corners, and just some very few flat parts. And now I'm going to come right on top of that wax and start adding my first layer of milk paint. And as you can see, it is pretty translucent. I could have added a little bit more powder, but I knew I was going to have to mix up another batch, and I would just make that batch a little thicker next time. So I'm going to get this first coat applied, being gentle going over the waxed part, so I try not to disturb that wax badly. But yeah, just apply the first coat all over. I'm going to leave the inside and the back of the piece alone for now. Random thought, y'all. It's so weird watching yourself focused doing something. Like, I have noticed doing this YouTube thing, I have a focused painting face, and it is not pretty. It looks like I'm frowning, like with a hard frown on my face. Do y'all have a painting face? Y'all let me know in the comments. Here is how we're looking after that first coat is fully dry, and I'm going to kind of bring y'all in. We are getting some crackle and crazing, which is awesome. Let's hope and pray that whenever we apply our second coat, it stays. And then, like I said, I added less water to this mixture, so it's giving great coverage, and I'm only going to put 2 coats on this piece. It's okay. There is some kind of light areas. Whenever we get done, you're going to see that. But I just really wanted 2 coats. Here is how it looks after 2 coats. And y'all, that crackle and crazing is amazing. Next, we're going to focus on the inside. The inside I had to sand also to get rid of some drip marks, so it was looking kind of sad. So I grabbed some Katharina taupe by Fusion, and I'm just going to add one nice size coat, top and bottom of the shells, to the inside of the wall and to the back side wall on that gorgeous panel wood. I am going to lightly distress this so it doesn't look too new in the end, but I only needed one coat for good coverage. This is about to be some really poor recording, so I apologize for that, but I want to take this little scraper tool and hit those edges where I applied the beeswax and bring back some of that white color, and it's going to pull back some of that wood. And just make sure everywhere I apply that wax, I'm getting it off. And now it's time to seal it. Of course, I'm going to use Fusion's Aging Wax, buffing it in to that milk paint, and it's soaking it right up. I decided to do 2 layers of wax, and that's something I rarely do. But this wood was just really drinking it up, and I felt like it needed it, and it brought out some gorgeous, yummy age to this piece. So I'm just using a wax brush. I just got a new one from Walmart that is working fabulous. I retired that old grungy one. And then I'm going to buff it in with a blue shop towel, and y'all look at that difference. The wax really brings this piece to life, if you ask me. That's really it for this piece. I took the tape off, cleaned that glass one more good time, did some light distressing on the inside shelves, and y'all, this piece was awesome. I love, love, love it. I priced it for $250, and it sold 6 days later. And they got 10% off on it, because in my mall, if you don't put firm on the price, they can get an automatic 10% off. So at the end of the day, I got a 10% off of $250, which was still a good deal since I paid $20 for the piece. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this one. This is, of course, is my favorite project from today's video. I decided to add a quick booth tour in here for y'all. I finally got my booth with some fall decor in it. So if you see anything you're interested in, you can email me. That's in my description box, and I can shoot you a price and ship it right to your door. I have been wanting to add my items to my website, but y'all, I just have not found the time to do it. So y'all enjoy this booth tour. Let me know what you think about today's projects. Let me know which project is your favorite down in the comments. And if you got any inspiration from today's video, hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you have not already. And thank y'all so much for spending your time with me today. I'll talk to y'all in the comments. Bye.